What do you think, Sting? Can this be resolved at this point where both sides are?
I think from most players' perspective, the locker room can be very forgiving. So from a locker room standpoint, you're like, yeah, we'll get our guy back. You know, we'll patch it over.
Even the way he did last year?
Absolutely. For guys, I think they'll overlook those things. They'll say, hey, it's all good. I just don't think they can bring him back.
The locker room's not normal, man.
Right, the locker
Jim
room's
is sitting over here like,
right.
wow, how could you let someone work
He
like
didn't
that?
even show up.
We don't care.
Yeah, it'd be like, hey, man, you know what? You screwed up. Come on in here. Yeah, like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the village idiot, but he's our village idiot. So we want to keep him in, you know, I mean, that's how the locker room.
And a very useful village idiot.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying that we will embrace that. We want to help guys. We want to fix guys.
There's less talented players with more significant issues that are in that locker room that we accept. So this is not your normal work environment. So if you think of it as, oh man, you've never been in a situation like no locker room. When you talk to NFL players, guys who have played to a high level, guys like Stink, you ask them, man, what do you miss? Absent of the money, they miss the locker room. Because you'll never have that collection of people, personalities, ethnic differences, different backgrounds in the same work environment ever again. It's a time in your life that you will never be able to recapture. And people say, oh, the locker room chemistry. Man, it's a hodgepodge of a bunch of stuff with one goal. Man, we're trying to play some football and try to play at a high level. Don't even be talking about everyone here trying to win a championship, because that is not the goal of every single player. So that's the way an NFL locker room and the makeup of an NFL locker room is.
But correct me if I'm wrong, that you're talking about the players. It's not surprising that Maurkice Pouncey would welcome him back.
Sure.
But those aren't the guys who would be executing a trade. The people who we might have a bigger issue with are the actual decision makers.
Here's the issue. The players would welcome him back. The players would find a way to get over it. Come on, Ben Roethlisberger was like, oh, they're the ones that have the beef, right? And he's like, oh, no, we're fine. I reached out to him on Thursday. I don't know what's going on. Like, the players would just let it go because he's so talented, and they'll figure out a way to, to welcome him back in and everything will be hunky-dory. You can't have him with that coach.
Right.
Because he has circumvented that coach's authority time and time and time again, and that coach hasn't held him to a standard of accountability that he needs to hold him to. And so the two of them, if you bring him back, will he continue to walk over the coach? Of course he will, because he's been entitled to do that. He has been given the authority to circumvent that coach's authority.
Right.
So he's been, hey, you don't have to play by any rules. You have your own set of standards. And so I know one thing about the Steelers. What have they had? 3 coaches?
In 50 years.
Yeah, 3 coaches in 50 years. So they have a desire to make that work. And Tomlin will never be given kind of full reign of that organization as long, in my opinion, as Antonio's there. So I think you have to move him as an organization.
The Steelers have had more continuity at the coaching spot than any organization in the league, and they have had more turnover of elite-level wide receivers than any organization in the league, which is why, even though Antonio is a special player, and I almost always defer to the special player, I said it the day after this story came out, on the Monday or Tuesday after Week 17, he can't come back in that locker room as long as Mike Tomlin's the head coach. Now, they could have fired Tomlin. I would have thought that would have been a mistake. They could have maybe tried to trade Tomlin. That would have been interesting, but they're not doing that either. So you have to shop Antonio Brown, and there's a drop-dead date on this. He's due a roster bonus the 5th day of the league year early in March. The draft is the next month in April. This will be resolved. And Antonio Brown, at 3 years, $36 million left on his contract, is a hell of a bargain. And maybe, I'm sure a new team will think he won't act like this here, or we'll have a better handle on it, or we'll be able to control it better, or we don't care, we'll just get the production out of him. But I'm not surprised that Pouncey, especially knowing what I know about Pouncey and the Pouncey brothers, think, this ain't no big deal. But for Mike Tomlin, to use your quote, see, it's going to be, you bring him back, there's spitballs being shot at the coach by week 5. Like there is, he has done sports-wise what is as bad of a thing as you can do to your teammates. No show, no call. And the teammates might get over that. I don't know how the coach can look the other guys in the eye and bring him back in.
That's my only issue with it, and that's what I didn't understand. So just explain it to me better. It's not like he had some off-the-field situation where the teammates are like, well, it didn't affect the game. It's not great, but we'll bring him back. This could have affected the game. You always say your best skill is your availability or how you phrase it, but he wasn't available to them in the most important game of their season. And I'm fascinated by the fact that you think the players or that team is just so open to bringing him back. Maybe not the brass and the coaching staff, but yet the teammates.
Yeah, I don't think you're fascinated. I think you're surprised and shocked. But it's the personality of athletes. Look in America. America, we're waiting for someone to apologize. That's all you got to do. No matter what you've done, if you apologize, we're very, very forgiving. From an athletic standpoint, we're even more forgiving because we understand some of the things they take. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, the players, they understand the rub-tug between him and Ben Roethlisberger better than we do sitting here on television. So I've been in the locker room long enough. These types of things are resolved. You got 60 guys coming from all different types of personalities. So his talent and how he works at work. See, because one thing you guys are missing is, he no-showed, he didn't call. He's the hardest worker in the building. There was a reason for that. He had a serious issue with Ben Roethlisberger. He's like, I'm tired of you showing me up. You're not going to show me up anymore. So it's not as if this guy is not known for being a hard worker. That's why the no-call, no-show thing is not termination of his career.
Not of his career, but maybe I'm wrong, because we've talked about this a lot. Do you disagree with Stink? Do you think the Steelers can, with Mike Tomlin there, bring him back? Forget the players for a moment, because the players don't execute trades. Maybe I've misunderstood your opinion on this when we've talked about the last month. I thought we agreed that what Stink was saying is accurate, that Mike Tomlin can't look the other guys in the eye in the locker room having brought him back.
I'm separating the issues, though. I'm trying to tell you players will still accept it. Now, what they decide to do in the locker room. Now, you keep saying players don't execute trades. Oh, that's true. But front office people aren't in the locker room. The coaches aren't in the locker room. Every coach, every team, everything I've ever heard, the coach always said that locker room belongs to who?
The players.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And don't forget that. So what they decide to do upstairs, if they get past that date, they give him that bonus. If they get to the draft, they have decided that they're going to allow him to be in the locker room. And I got some legendary Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm talking about the best of the best. And they had highly questionable teammates all along the way. So now it wasn't typically the best players. It wasn't Mean Joe Green, Mel Blount. Well, this time we have with Antonio. But their understanding of players in a culture room, of a locker room, that's what I'm trying to get Jenna and others to understand.
Right. I think you have to also understand how compartmentalized the locker room is. So I can be Antonio Brown's teammate, and I can be disgusted with the way he behaves, but I don't have to interact with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in my meeting room. I'm in my section of the locker room. I'm on my portion of the practice field. And as long as he's doing his job and he's working hard and he's out there making plays for us, that's all right. I'll tolerate that. Like, it doesn't mean you have to sit there and say, we accept you, it's fine. You know, they're oftentimes...
Most players don't put themselves in the front office position saying who should be on the team and who shouldn't be on the team. That's what we do on television. But most guys in the locker room, they're not sitting there trying to alter a guy's career because that could have been them, because they know people a lot in that situation.
And most players want as much talent as possible in the locker room. They want
it makes my job
easier. Of course.
Yeah, but you've also seen a player like Antonio who do some of the things that he has done, and eventually it gets down to the point where there'll be a fight in the locker room. Somebody will go up and challenge him, and and then there's going to be fisticuffs, and that happens. I mean, that happens as well. So the locker room is it's a really different place. And you can't compare it to any other place in America because it doesn't run by the same rules.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.